When the human body regains lost mass, it does not simply recover tissue symmetrically. It actively prioritizes the rebuilding of one specific type of tissue. Look at the 1991 Biosphere 2 experiment. 8 crew members experienced 2 years of sustained food insufficiency inside this enclosed geodesic dome. After exiting the confinement, they resumed normal caloric intake. Over the next 6 months, the crew regained an average of 8.8 kilograms. 8.4 kilograms of that total was exclusively fat mass. This extreme fat bias appeared decades earlier in the Minnesota starvation experiment. During the starvation phase, subjects suffered severe emaciation, completely depleting fat and fat-free mass. Yet during the 12-week controlled refeeding phase, their fat mass recovery vastly outpaced the recovery of their lean tissue. We see this exact dynamic years after initial weight loss. Following the Biggest Loser competition, participants maintained a heavily disproportionate recovery rate of fat versus muscle up to 6 years later. Clinical medicine refers to this disproportionate vector of recovery as catch-up fat. The universal presence of catch-up fat across controlled starvation, isolated ecological confinement, and modern clinical weight loss proves that post-starvation weight regain is not a passive caloric surplus. It is a highly regulated physiological directive. When a patient resumes adequate nutrition, standard clinical protocols assume their systemic neurohormonal network should return to baseline. This chart tracks systemic markers. During refeeding, insulin, leptin, and circulating T3 levels rapidly rebound to normal. But watch the patient's resting energy expenditure. Overlaying this secondary data line, energy expenditure remains trapped in a deep, prolonged deficit. The central nervous system is receiving signals indicating a fed state, yet the body continues operating under severe energy conservation. To understand metabolic adaptation, clinicians have to stop looking at systemic blood circulation and look directly inside the skeletal muscle. Metabolic adaptation relies on 2 distinct, overlapping control systems that respond to entirely different biological triggers. This graph traces the first mechanism, the nonspecific control system. As a caloric deficit is introduced, the blue curve drops rapidly. A drop in insulin and leptin instantly lowers the metabolic rate. When food intake resumes, the blue curve rapidly recovers and stabilizes. The second mechanism is the adipose-specific control system. The red curve shows a slow, delayed decline. It operates independently of daily caloric intake, reacting only to the total depletion of fat stores. This adipose-specific system acts as an overriding sensor. It keeps thermogenesis suppressed until absolute total fat mass reaches pre-starvation levels. This slow-acting feedback loop serves as the primary engine forcing energy conservation during weight regain. Skeletal muscle accounts for 30 to 40% of total body mass. It is the primary engine for insulin-mediated glucose disposal and ATP utilization. The adipose-specific sensor actively suppresses thermogenesis inside the skeletal muscle. It forces the tissue to become resistant to insulin, physically repelling glucose from the membrane. This localized resistance generates a sustained state of compensatory hyperinsulinemia. In this model, you can see glucose physically rerouting away from the skeletal muscle block and moving directly toward the adipose tissue. Inside the adipose tissue block, the hyperinsulinic state forces the conversion of that rerouted glucose into new lipid droplets through de novo lipogenesis. During this phase, the beta cells of the pancreas become hyper-responsive to glucose, amplifying the insulin drive specifically to build fat. By shutting down skeletal muscle metabolism, the body creates a localized surplus of circulating glucose, forcibly shuttling it into fat storage to achieve glucose homeostasis. How exactly does the muscle cell remain metabolically suppressed when circulating systemic thyroid levels are normal? We have to examine the diiodinase family of enzymes. This diagram maps the pathway as thyroxine, or T4, crosses the cell membrane into the intracellular space. Diiodinase enzymes act as gatekeepers for thyroid hormone activation. Normally, type 2 diiodinase converts T4 into the biologically active hormone T3. But during weight regain, this standard activation pathway is completely downregulated. Instead, skeletal muscle massively upregulates type 3 diiodinase, or D3. The D3 enzyme intercepts the T4 and converts it into an inactive form called reverse T3, preventing activation. D3 also executes a secondary destructive function. It actively seeks out and degrades any existing active T3, shredding it into inert T2 fragments. This D3 upregulation creates a profound state of localized skeletal muscle hypothyroidism. The muscle cell becomes completely deaf to the brain's systemic thyroid signals. This D3-induced intracellular hypothyroidism alters the physical architecture and contractile properties of the muscle to aggressively hoard energy. Look at this split-screen comparison of muscle fiber contraction rates. The hypothyroid state forces a severe, sluggish delay in the muscle's contraction-relaxation kinetics compared to normal function. Localized hypothyroidism also forces a cellular conversion. The muscle's proportional composition shifts away from fast-twitch type 2 fibers, heavily weighting towards highly fuel-efficient, slow-twitch type 1 fibers. A third architectural shift occurs simultaneously, a drastic reduction in muscle protein turnover, shutting down a major ATP-consuming cellular cycle. By slowing contraction rates, shifting to efficient fibers, and halting protein turnover, the muscle reaches extreme mechanical efficiency. This ensures maximum caloric spillover into adipose tissue. This localized muscle suppression has a devastating secondary effect on behavioral appetite regulation. The brain monitors tissue mass via these two volumetric gauges. Because fat recovers rapidly while muscle remains suppressed, the brain registers a massive lean mass deficit. This forces compensatory hyperphagia, driving the fat mass gauge to violently overflow, while fat-free mass barely ticks upward. This behavioral trap is known as collateral fattening. The patient is biologically forced to overeat until their lean mass is fully restored, leaving them with an unavoidable, permanent surplus of total body fat. Chronic weight cycling is a metabolic trap. The body holds appetite hostage until mechanically stunted muscle finally finishes rebuilding. Repeating this cycle forces the skeletal muscle to spend years immersed in a state of low intracellular T3. Sustained D3-induced T3 repression impairs myogenesis. It prevents satellite cells from undergoing terminal differentiation, directly limiting the body's ability to repair muscle tissue. This flowchart maps the descending pathological cascade. Skeletal muscle hypothyroidism directly causes diminished muscle function, which drives collateral fattening. The final clinical endpoint of this cascade is sarcopenic obesity, a state defined by massive adiposity paired with weak, mechanically compromised, and insulin-resistant skeletal muscle. To successfully treat obesity, clinical medicine must look past systemic blood panels and caloric spreadsheets and directly target the intracellular deiodinase enzymes driving the catch-up fat phenotype.